In May 1981, a guided party of 11 climbers was ascending Mount Rainier just below a route called Disappointment Cleaver, when a massive avalanche, likely triggered by a falling piece of glacial ice, swept down the slope without warning. 10 climbers and their guide were buried. It remains the deadliest single incident in the mountain's recorded history, and to this day, most of those 11 bodies are still entombed somewhere inside the ice. This national park is loved by millions of visitors every year, but what most people don't know is the dark truth hidden beneath its beauty. Stay until the end to discover the shocking reality. Mount Rainier National Park sits roughly 60 miles southeast of Seattle, and the mountain itself is impossible to miss. At 14,410 feet, it's the tallest peak in Washington state and the most prominent mountain in the entire contiguous United States, visible on a clear day from office windows, ferry decks, and highway exits across the Puget Sound region. More than 2 million people visit the park every year. Most of them come for the wildflower meadows, the short walks to paradise, the photographs of a glacier-capped volcano rising out of the forest like something out of a postcard. Fewer than 1% of those visitors ever attempt to climb it. And yet, since the park began keeping records in 1897, Mount Rainier has been connected to more than 425 recorded deaths, a number that makes it one of the deadliest national parks in the country, and among mountaineers specifically, its reputation is even starker. What makes Rainier different from almost every other tall mountain in America is that it isn't just a mountain, it's a volcano, and an active one.
Geologically, it sits directly on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the same belt of tectonic activity responsible for the Cascade volcanoes and much of the seismic risk on the West Coast. Rainier is officially classified by the U.S. Geological Survey as one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the country, not primarily because of the risk of an eruption, but because of something called a lahar, a fast-moving slurry of mud, rock, and melted glacial ice that can be triggered by even minor volcanic activity or a large collapse of unstable rock high on the mountain. Rainier carries more glacial ice than any other peak in the lower 48, more than 35 square miles of it, sitting directly on top of a mountain that geologists know is capable of shedding pieces of itself with almost no warning. Entire communities in the valleys below the mountain, including parts of the city of Orting, sit inside mapped lahar hazard zones today, with warning sirens installed specifically for this scenario.
That combination, a volcano wearing a glacier like a coat, is the source of most of what makes climbing Rainier so unpredictable. The mountain's glaciers are riddled with crevasses, deep cracks in the ice that can be hidden under a thin, deceptive layer of fresh snow. Even the approach to Camp Muir, the 10,080-foot camp that most climbers pass through before a summit attempt, and a route many day hikers attempt without any technical climbing gear at all, crosses terrain where crevasses have opened beneath people's feet with almost no warning. Climbing rangers on the mountain have issued warnings describing snow-covered crevasses on the lower slopes as barely covered, dangerous enough that they recommend full glacier travel equipment, ropes, harnesses, ice axes, just to reach a camp that many visitors treat as a strenuous day hike. Then there's the weather, which on Rainier does not behave the way most visitors expect a summer afternoon to behave. In September 2020, a 27-year-old man from Seattle was hiking with a female companion in the park when a whiteout snowstorm rolled in without warning. Visibility collapsed to almost nothing. The man became disoriented, then unresponsive, and his hiking partner was ultimately forced to leave him and search for help alone in the storm. He did not survive. It's a pattern climbing rangers describe often, a pleasant outing transformed into a survival ordeal in the space of an hour, with no warning beyond a shift in the wind. The mountain's most technical and most lethal route makes this danger almost mathematical. Liberty Ridge, a steep line of dark rock and blue ice across Rainier's north face, is attempted by fewer than 200 of the roughly 10,000 people who try to summit the mountain each year, less than 2% of all climbers. And yet Liberty Ridge accounts for roughly a quarter of all climbing deaths on the entire mountain. The route offers some of the most spectacular, least crowded views on Rainier, which is exactly why experienced climbers are drawn to it, and exactly why it kills a disproportionate number of the people who attempt it. Even the people sent to rescue others are not exempt from what this mountain can do. In June 2012, a national park climbing ranger named Nick Hall was assisting in the rescue of 4 climbers trapped in a glacial crevasse when he fell approximately 2,500 feet to his death. Weather conditions on the mountain were dangerous enough that rescuers could not recover his body for a week and a half. The 4 climbers he had been helping to save were all rescued successfully. Hall was not an inexperienced visitor caught off guard by a mountain he didn't understand. He was one of the most qualified people on it, and the mountain took him anyway. There's a specific psychological trap that seems to shape how people underestimate Rainier, something that doesn't really apply to more remote peaks. Call it the familiarity bias. Unlike a mountain range hundreds of miles from the nearest city, Rainier is visible daily from kitchen windows, freeway commutes, and ferry rides across Puget Sound for millions of people who have never set foot on it. It becomes part of the visual furniture of life in the Pacific Northwest, something you've looked at your entire life without ever really considering what it is. An active volcano wrapped in more glacial ice than any other mountain in the country, sitting less than a 2-hour drive from a major American city. Visitors who've watched Rainier from a distance for years can arrive at the park with a false sense of familiarity that has nothing to do with actual preparation, and the mountain does not know the difference between a stranger and someone who has simply looked at it 1,000 times from far away. Search and rescue operations at Rainier average somewhere between 5 and 15 major incidents a year above the high camps alone, most involving falls, crevasse rescues, or climbers caught by exactly the kind of storm that took the man near Camp Muir in 2020. The National Park Service is direct about this in its own materials. The vast majority of visitors do not die at Rainier, and the mountain's climbing rangers have built one of the most respected safety cultures of any peak in the country. But the numbers accumulate anyway, year after year, because the mountain's dangers, the hidden crevasse, the sudden whiteout, the unstable ice thousands of feet up a volcano that is still, geologically speaking, very much alive. Don't ask anyone's permission before arriving. Today, the 11 climbers buried by the 1981 avalanche are still up there, somewhere inside a glacier that is constantly moving, grinding slowly downhill the way glaciers always have, carrying whatever it holds with it. The mountain hasn't stopped drawing people toward it since. More than 10,000 will attempt the summit again this year, and most of them will come back down exactly the way they hoped to. Some will not. The question is not whether Mount Rainier is worth attempting, it is whether you understand that the mountain you've been looking at your whole life was never the version of it you'll actually meet above 10,000 feet.